All right, we're ready to begin this school building committee meeting on the 13th of December at 3 o'clock. This is our tour of the properties, the building properties. We're beginning here at Castertano Farms. So I'll just call for the roll. Chris Daddy, Rich Gussenberg here, Sean Kimball, Chuck Neff, Dennis Rio,
Yep, here.
Megan Rockwell,
Here.
Greg Rosenblatt, here, Jeff Solon, I'm here, Sarah Stevens Marling, and Sean Kimball just arrived, so we do have a quorum, although we will be taking no action today. This is a tour of our two properties. We're here at the Castertano property. The committee has a chance to see the property. They have a topographical map of the area, and I'll certainly, open the door for any questions or any thoughts on the property as it's laid out.
So to visualize it, the school would be there, and parking would be here, and recreation fields down there, or how would it be arranged?
All that has been done to this point are test fits.
Okay.
So the only thing that we're relatively certain about is that the facility and parking would be on the east side of the property closest to Marion, because the far west side of the property is wetland. Other than that, nothing is finalized. That will be work that's done with this committee and the architect as we design. So it's really kind of a blank slate at this point.
Is there a minimum square footage or number of students, or how do you decide the size?
The number of students is approximately 650. The square footage, I won't quote it, but it is in the educational specifications that were submitted to the state. There is what the state calls a space standard. So when you're designing for a certain number of students, there's a space standard that they apply to that. And if we have the, if we were to choose, we could build beyond the state space standard, but we wouldn't be reimbursed for that. So we're staying within the state space standard, and all that's available on our educational specifications, which are on our shared drive.
Hi, John. Hey, Sean.
Welcome, Town Manager Kimball. We're I'm being recorded here by Mr. Salamini. We just started kind of talking through some questions about the property.
What did the geotech show for this property?
Off the top of my head, that it was safe for building. There's other geotech that will be done that will guide our construction process, but it did pass in order to be able to build here. There are some questions about the sewer lines and utilities coming in here. That frankly I don't have the details on, and I know Mike Glidden is on his way, and he may have some information on that, but
yeah, we're gonna pull we'll have we can get all the mapping out here.
Right.
And then the wetlands, I know, are also delineated out there.
yes.
It gets wet down the back of the property.
Yeah, toward the tree line at the far west side, or excuse me, far east side of the property.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely we'd be touching anything from the trees over. We've got a lot.
I think if anything, that could be areas where fields can work. I mean, sometimes fields, depending on how they're properly drained, they're better closer to the wetlands than obviously your building. So that, I think in the test fit, it showed maybe fields closer to that area and then building more in and around here.
The other thing I would note is that if you've ever been to Darcy, their playscape area is situated under a canopy of trees. And if there was a way to leverage the existing canopy to do something similar for our playscape area, I think that would be a consideration. There are also, unfortunately today, security considerations when you're in the trees and things like that. You know, if just thinking about after school hours and how that space is utilized, something that would be considerate of.
You know what?
Hey Mike, how are you? We're just recording this meeting for our school building committee.
Does everyone know
Welcome
that
Mike Glidden,
our town planner, Mike Glidden?
Oh, okay. Hi, Mike.
How are you?
So there were some questions about utilities, Mike. I don't know if you have any sort of knowledge of that. I mean, not to absolutely put you on the spot. It's all right if you don't know off the top of your head, but the question came up.
Of what?
So sewer line, it looks like, you know, from the drawings I've seen, the sewer line basically dissects the center of the property. But in terms of, I mean, electricity is fed off the lines from the street, but is there gas in the area or anything like natural gas? Do we know?
I'd have to check. I have
Yeah.
to confirm, but I
Yeah.
think there is over here.
Running down Marion?
Jarvis.
Or Jarvis,
No,
excuse me.
I don't think here. But we can pull maps.
And is there a water line anywhere near here?
I think out on Jarvis. There's a. Yes, is the answer.
Yes.
Pull that up, Joe.
Any other questions on
Just the other
property?
trees, are those the industrial buildings on Otter Drive?
Yes.
So I guess you want some sort of buffer
Yes.
between them?
I think the more trees that we could keep, the nicer it is. But I mean, that'll be work that our committee works through with the architect.
I'm assuming where the trees are here, that is owned by that house? That
Yes.
cutting?
Yes.
I don't know how much of those trees are, but
Looks
yeah,
like straight
certainly
lines
some.
going all the way around.
Yeah,
Including the fence.
yeah. Up to the fence.
Yeah.
So when we drive over to Norton, we're going to cut the camera, obviously, but just for the sake of the recording, on our way over there, we're going to take a little drive around the block to Sharon Drive so we can see the right-of-way from that side of the property. It's very hard to see it from the Norton side of the property, given the undulation of the topography there. So that cut through, as I've said before, we want to try and honor. Sean and I had a meeting with some of the local residents, and it's just something to be considerate of as we enter the design property. We have to have an emergency access there for the fire department and police department, but how we utilize that space for buses or vehicles or pedestrian traffic, just something that we'll have to consider later on in the architectural design phase.
What's the, I mean, we can talk about it when we get there, but the phasing plan for the school looks a little tight in the sense that how are you going to squeeze by the gym to get to the new school?
So we'll open up the back, and that would be construction entrance from the back of the property.
Construction.
Yeah, we're not.
so-
Yeah, we wouldn't be entering through Brooksvale and driving around the building to do the construction in the back. Our plan would be to wall all of that off between Norton and the new construction for safety and
Yeah.
quiet during the school, because we'll be doing building obviously during the year. So we'll wall all of that off, and the construction entrance, certainly it's not optimal for the neighbors, but that would be a short window, relatively speaking, that we would be accessing that with construction vehicles to finalize the building, and then we would tear down.
How about when school starts though? Because there's no way you can demolish Norton in one summer.
No, yeah, there would still be that period property time where we would have to access through the back of the property. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Or we could just release 650 kids to to tear it down.
Tell them rip apart the school.
Yeah, go ahead, guys.
Give them all a hammer.
My kids could do it to my house in like 20 minutes. Like, I don't know what the issue is. But anyway, all right. Well, we'll pack up shop and head over to the other one, unless there are any other thoughts. All right. So obviously we're here at Norton now. The property goes back past the trees a little bit. The right of way is just probably to the left of the backstop there. Maybe just to the right of it.
No.
To the right of it. Yeah. Just to the right of it.
Way to the right.
Yeah. So the property extends pretty well beyond this tree line here. And so that's where the emergency entrance would be, or potential bus exit to be determined. But the new building would be erected over here where the fields are now. A temporary wall would be erected between the two areas to keep folks away from the construction site, but with some visibility. We've talked about having some visibility so kids can kind of see what's happening. It'll be kind of a neat learning experience for them. And then, once the building is constructed, the current building would be demolished. The land would be reconfigured for recreational use, and then ultimately the wall would come down. We can take a walk around the path here a little bit to see. You can see where Dryden curves, and that's the space behind there is pretty significant.
From the test pit, you're not gonna have a lot of parking or a lot of playing field for the kids when they move into the new school until they implement the tomorrow, right?
Yeah. The actual facility itself will take up a lot of the space here, not leaving a lot of room for parking. So I think the timing of that is something we're going to have to be considerate of as to how we utilize the existing parking for the current building to be able to access the new building during that demolition phase. Obviously, we're going to try and do as much as we can over the summer, but it's certainly not feasible to do it all.
Right.
When we looked in South Windsor, there were two schools on site, same thing, they built and knocked down the others. And it's a little bit disruptive, it works. The kids are gonna be without a field for a year. They can take all this down and grade it and seed it, but principals and teachers will work around it.
Yeah. It is obviously disruptive, but when we looked as the school building or school modernization committee at things like renovation, renovate like new, where you're trying to renovate buildings with kids inside of them. It didn't work for a variety of reasons, but people who attended, we have a number of teachers who attended CHS when that building was remodeled while it was being used, and classes in the gym don't go that well, right, and things like that, So this is, well, not optimal. It's definitely the better path.
Good portion of the building would be.
Right.
It goes pretty far back.
Yeah.
Anyway.
For the test fit anyway.
At
Yeah.
least for where. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe some limited field use still available depending
Yeah.
on where it ends up.
And where the wall is and what we're doing.
Or at least keep blacktop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids are flexible.
That's right.
All right, well, I appreciate you guys joining us on the tour of the two properties. Hopefully it was informative and enlightening for you. Any last questions before we take a motion to adjourn?
Just a thought, looking at the two properties, they're so different
Mm.
and they have unique challenges. That would lead me towards two architects instead of just one. Because it's not the same project.
Yeah, they're definitely very different and unique. Whether it's one firm with two teams, but you couldn't design the same building and drop it on the two properties by a long shot. So that's
And I think
definitely
if we-
noteworthy.
If we do one firm with two teams, they'll deliver both late.
So we'll definitely, it's a point of consideration when we go through the process. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Sure. Motion to adjourn. Anybody?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Second.
All right. All in favor? All right. It's unanimous.